Once the e-waste has crossed the border, it travels to places like the town of Guayu.
When we went to the Guayu, we don't see any signs to say, okay, this is Guayu, but we just smell, very strong, the smell. Okay, we know we arrived at Guayu.
Guiyou is one of many Chinese towns and villages where illegal e-waste recycling is happening on an industrial scale. "80% of the population are involved, processing millions of tons of e-waste a year with the connivance of the industrialized nations. The owners of these yards buy the waste abroad for peanuts, then recycle it using cheap labor. No money is spent treating the toxic leftovers or protecting the workers, so an item can be recycled for a tenth of the cost charged in Europe or the US. As opposed to the African dump sites, in Guayu there is a division of labor.
This is very typical local family workshop. The workers also recycle the plastic or CRT. This guy used the light to burn the plastic and classify different types.
Separating different kinds of plastic by burning and smelling them is a cheap and effective technique, but it damages the lungs. Another family workshop specializes in recovering minute amounts of gold by dipping motherboards into acid baths. The workers are risking cancer by breathing in the toxic smoke. Afterwards, the remaining acid is simply dumped in the river.
In the summer, the children jump into the river. This river is black. It's polluted. When I'm a children, I'm living in other province. The environmental is really beautiful. I can swimming in the very clear the river. But now I saw the children, when they're swimming, only the black river. I always feel really sad.
The groundwater has also been polluted, and even a simple cup of tea is laced with toxins. The constant exposure to substances such as PCBs, lead and mercury is causing numerous health problems, including nerve and brain damage, skin diseases and a rise in birth defects.
Really what's happening is people are externalizing costs. You don't want to solve the problem, you'd rather let someone else deal with it, and you'll never have to pay for it. You don't ever get a bill from China saying, you contaminated my land, you have to pay.
Reuse will be environmental friendly, it's good. But people's health will harm, and the local environment also will harm.
China is sacrificing its environment and the health of a whole generation because its industry craves all the resources it can get from the international e-waste. China's factories in the neighbouring provinces, for instance in Shanghai, Yangzhou and Guangdong, immediately buy up any recycled materials such as copper, aluminium, iron, gold and plastics. But e-waste recycling is not only about selling scrap materials. An even more lucrative business is the recycling of computer chips. They are harvested in clandestine workshops that are usually closely guarded by the local mafia. Here, transistors, integrated circuits and other components are taken off discarded motherboards. The harvested parts are sorted and cleaned and prepared for sale as brand new components for the production of new electronics. They are then transported to manufacturing centres for electronics, such as the city of Shenzhen. Shenzhen is at the heart of Guangdong province, the mecca of China's electronics industry. In just 30 years, the city has gone from 100,000 inhabitants to more than 12 million. The chances are that the electronic appliances in your household were made by somebody in this region.
There's a bit of a gold rush atmosphere here. It's like London during the Industrial Revolution or New York in the 1800s. People are coming from all over China to work in the factories here. They make money and send it home to their families in the remote provinces. But it's not just the Chinese that are coming here. Welcome to Dangerous Prototypes. I'm Ian.
Ian Lesnet is an engineer who has moved to Shenzhen to expand his electronics business. He has shared his experience on the internet.
About a year and a half, I came here for the first time with some friends to check out the electronics markets and see what it's all about. And we made a little video while we went through the market. That was totally overwhelming. With 10 buildings, this is by far the largest electronics market in the world.
Since the video shoot, Ian is no longer welcome at the market with a camera, so I am paying a visit with a friend instead. In Shenzhen, there are more than 30 markets like this, each with up to 6 floors full of electronics. It's a veritable Aladdin's cave.
There are a lot of distributors for just about any sort of electronic component that you could imagine. So the little bits that get stuck to a circuit board, all the supplies you need to build them, the machines used to put the parts on the boards. It's available here in Huaqiangbei. For an engineer to have access to this torrent of resources, this flood of parts, it's amazing. You can walk down there, pick up the parts you need, and build something.
The range of chips on sale is huge, and I am being offered anything from a few samples for a prototype to a deal for a batch of 10,000. There is only one problem. It is impossible to tell if a chip is brand new or if it has come from a piece of e-waste and been polished up to look new.
You'll find chips that aren't what they say. They're mislabeled. They're a cheaper, simpler chip sold as a more expensive chip. But you'll also find chips with nothing inside.
35,000 different brokers are offering refurbished chips in these malls or on the internet. The market is said to be worth 100 billion euros a year. But this trade carries a huge risk that has an impact all over the globe, wherever computer chips are a part of our lives. For instance, in trains, planes, cars, nuclear power plants, hospitals, in short, everywhere. The companies who build the control systems for this kind of equipment are finding it increasingly difficult to distinguish between new chips and refurbished ones, and to be sure that their products on which many lives depend are safe. For TQ Systems in Germany, this is a daily challenge.
Hier haben wir 2 Bausteine, von denen gleich sichtbar ist, dass sie nicht original sein können. Der eine Baustein hat eine zerkratzte Oberfläche. Bei dem zweiten Baustein sieht man auf Anhieb an der Rückseite Rückstände einer vorherigen Lötung. Das heißt, auch der Baustein ist nicht mehr original. Es wurden aber beide Bauteile als neu verkauft.
Since the original label has been painted over, it's hard to know which type of chip it really is. Clues pointing to the origin of a chip on the scrap heap are broken and missing pins, or labeling that has been scratched off with a crude and blunt instrument.
Besonders aufpassen müssen wir bei Halbleitern, die angeliefert werden, die einen Geruch nach Zitrone versprühen. Also gerade Zitronenduft deutet darauf hin, dass die Oberfläche abgewaschen wurde und neu bedruckt wurde.
If the chips were sold as new, they should have come from a factory like this facility in Dresden, where new chips are produced in a highly controlled environment. But the scratched surfaces point to a different origin. Guayu, or another e-waste recycling village somewhere in the developing world. and this means that the chips might be damaged.
Der Chip kann elektrostatisch beschädigt werden. Der Chip kann durch Feuchtigkeit kaputt gehen und ganz kritisch an der Stelle ist, die arbeiten ja sehr oft mit dem Bunsenbrenner, um die Bauteile von der Platine zu bekommen. Und das ist sehr gefährlich, weil die Bauteile alle nur bis 120 Grad in der Temperatur spezifiziert sind. Und das heißt, wenn man das länger macht, gehen sie kaputt.
Major chip manufacturers have started to employ investigators to keep tabs on the situation.
If it's a popular product, it's a commodity, counterfeiters will say, oh, I can produce the same product through old, obsolescent, refurbished e-waste, and I can sell it at 30% less. We're currently investigating a case where a customer had purchased from the open market a power module. They introduced them into a public transportation system, and after 1 month of usage, they exploded.
The module had burnt out inside. Stephen Jetter and his team found out that it had been fraudulently relabeled with a higher temperature resistance, probably because a higher resistance fetches a better price.
You can imagine if you have a power module that's originally developed in an environment where maximum voltage is 1200 voltage, and it's been remarked in 2400 voltage, it's not going to last very long.
In this particular case, the passengers had a lucky escape.
We have no indication that anyone was injured in this incident, and we hope that remains the case.
TQ Systems have decided to check every single batch of chips on arrival using a special X-ray system.
Okay, jetzt sehen wir hier den Siliziumchip, ein Bauelement mit der Drahtbahnverbindung. In diesem Fall ist er verdreht in dem Bauelement. Man muss natürlich jetzt bewerten, ob das elektrisch eine Auswirkung hat auf die Funktion der Baugruppe. Und insbesondere, weil auch diese Baugruppe in der Bahntechnik eingesetzt wird, was natürlich relativ entscheidend ist, dass das auch eine dauerhaft sichere Funktion darstellt.
It will take time and effort to find out if the skewed connection is harmless or likely to cause a malfunction.
Also wir haben bei einer Steuerung einmal diesen Fall gehabt, dass wir bei einem Baustein uns nicht sicher waren, woher diese kommen. Und das war also ein Riesenaufwand, weil wir bereits mit der Produktion gestartet hatten, haben dann alles zurückgerudert. Das ist ein Riesenaufwand, der also intern mit einem Schaden von locker über 100.000 € zu beziffern ist.
Nowadays, procuring reliable chips is not only about technical specifications, it also involves people skills and good contacts.
A lot of effort goes into building trust. Once you have a relationship with a distributor, they'll say, oh no, don't buy that one, you want this one. And that means even the people you trust are selling things that are gray market, that are pulled out of the dumpster at a factory or recycled. But because you have that relationship, they'll tell you to avoid that and give you a better price on the real thing.
The electronics made in Shenzhen and Guangdong province are sold all over the world. Inside, many of them carry refurbished chips and recycled materials. Usually, these goods leave China from Hong Kong. The city, after serving as a point of entry for international e-waste, is also the place from where new electronics are shipped out. And these go increasingly to whole new markets in the developing world.